The apartment was old and worn down. It had been on the market for months, with no one willing to take it due to its eerie reputation. But Emily found herself drawn to it despite her reservations. As she stepped inside, a chill ran down her spine. The air felt thick and heavy, like someone had just walked out of the room but left their presence behind. She tried to shake off the feeling as she began to explore the apartment, taking in its creaky floorboards and peeling wallpaper. But it was one thing that caught her attention: a window on the top floor with no curtains or blinds. Emily approached the window cautiously, wondering why someone would leave it open like this all the time. She hesitated for a moment before pushing it open wider to see what lay beyond. The view took her breath away: a vast expanse of dark sky and trees that seemed to stretch on forever. But as she gazed out at the landscape, Emily noticed something odd. No matter how high up they were, the window never closed. At first, Emily thought it was just an old mechanism or some sort of faulty lock. She tried pushing it shut several times, but every time, it refused to budge. As night began to fall and the sky grew darker, she realized that something was very wrong with this apartment and herself. The window seemed to be pulling her in, drawing her closer as if by an unseen force. The apartment was an old building with worn-out furniture and faded paint. It had been rented out to students for years, but the current tenant, Emily, seemed different from the others. She kept her curtains closed all day long, even during sunny afternoons. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal: everyone else did that too. But as time went by, strange things started happening. Doors would creak open on their own, and objects would move around when no one was looking. Emily seemed oblivious to the events unfolding around her. She just sat in front of her TV, watching old reruns like it was a normal day. One evening, I decided to investigate further. I knocked gently on the door. There was no response. So, I took out my key and let myself in. The apartment was dimly lit, with only one window that seemed different from all others. Its curtains were always open, even when it rained outside. As I approached the window, a chill ran down my spine. It felt like something was watching me. Suddenly, Emily appeared beside me, her eyes wide and frightened. "Don't look out," she whispered urgently. But it was too late. I had already seen what lay beyond that open window, an endless expanse of darkness, with faces peering back at me from the shadows. The curtains closed instantly, but not before one face pressed against the glass, whispering a haunting phrase: "You'll never leave." And in that moment, Emily's eyes turned black as coal, and she vanished into thin air. The old apartment building had been abandoned for years. Its windows were boarded up and the front door was covered in cobwebs. But one window on the third floor remained unboarded, its glass still intact despite the neglect. Emily moved into the apartment with her family, eager to start a new life after their move from the city. She loved exploring the old building's nooks and crannies, but she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching her through the window of her room. At first, it seemed like just her imagination playing tricks on her. As time passed, Emily began to notice strange things happening around her apartment. Doors would creak open by themselves, and objects would move from their usual places. She tried to convince herself it was just the old building settling, but deep down she knew something more sinister was at play. And then there were the whispers, soft, raspy voices that seemed to come from outside, yet somehow echoed in her mind. One night, Emily's fear turned to terror as she realized the window would never close. She tried and tried, pushing it open with all her might, but it wouldn't budge. The glass remained stuck, like a gaping mouth waiting for something to crawl out of. As she stood frozen in horror, the whispers grew louder, until they became a deafening scream that seemed to come from within herself. And then everything went black.